Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Kenny Pickett raves about Eagles' talent. The Pittsburgh Steelers made a few surprising moves in the offseason that have significantly shaken up their roster. In an effort to improve their quarterback situation, the Steelers added Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, hoping one of them would pan out. While this move might not have been what the Steelers have been looking for after Ben Roethlisberger's departure, it left little room for Kenny Pickett to stay on the roster. Pickett was dealt to the Philadelphia Eagles, where he is slated to be the backup to Jalen Hurts. He could choose to be frustrated about leaving the Steelers this early on his career, especially considering he was a first-round draft pick 2 years ago. However, as Dov Kleiman recently called out on Twitter, Pickett seems to be thriving in his new environment. Per Kleiman, Pickett recently said, "I couldn't ask for a better room, better staff to be working with." Obviously, the talent around this team is pretty special, so it's a great group to be in. It appears that the early days in Philadelphia have been a great learning experience for Pickett. He has an opportunity to work with Nick Sirianni and his esteemed staff in Philadelphia, which could end up being a blessing for his NFL career as a whole. Any chance to grow and develop is a good thing in the NFL, especially for quarterbacks, as it could open up the door for them to start elsewhere. Will Pickett learn enough and hone his skills enough in Philadelphia to pick up a starting gig elsewhere? It wasn't Jaylen Warren's intention to create headlines earlier this month when he praised Russell Wilson and Justin Fields while appearing to throw shade at the quarterbacks on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster last season. Speaking on teammate Cameron Hayward's podcast a few days after the NFL draft, Warren said he sees a night and day difference, I would say, with their leadership in the quarterback room. The third-year running back's words were taken as a slight against Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph, the trio of quarterbacks on the roster the past 2 seasons. Not true, Warren clarified Thursday. Warren said he was merely pointing out the difference in having a 9-time Pro Bowl and Super Bowl champion quarterback leading the offense than quarterbacks with lesser experience. Warren didn't get the benefit of playing in a system with Ben Roethlisberger, who retired the year Warren arrived in the NFL in 2022. He appreciates the intangibles Wilson can bring to the Steelers' offense. He's a veteran quarterback, Warren said. He came in here, he's been in the league 13 years now. He's showing us what to do and sharing his knowledge about football. It was nothing about past quarterbacks. They are just as amazing. It's just him sharing his knowledge with us. Like many skill position players on the Steelers' offense, Warren is adjusting to the new faces he sees daily. Not just Wilson and Fields, who was added in a trade with the Chicago Bears, but in the person calling the plays. Warren is encouraged by the offense he has seen installed by new coordinator Arthur Smith, who joined the Steelers after 3 seasons as Atlanta Falcons head coach. Then again, it would be newsworthy if Warren wasn't buoyed by Smith's presence, given that Smith oversaw the NFL's second-ranked running game in 2020 in his final year as the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator. It's a lot more motion, shifts, pre-snap movement, Warren said. It's a lot of hiding and getting the calls to get on the right page. It's a lot different. A challenging offense to learn, Warren said, but nothing he believes Steelers players can't handle. Do Steelers have a CB worth pairing with Joey Porter Jr.? The Steelers' answer to this question is, very obviously, yes. They traded W.R. Deontay Johnson in order to acquire Dante Jackson, with minor draft pick improvements. The draft capital exchange was so minimal that it was virtually a player-for-player trade. Unless they kick him inside, which is unlikely, Jackson is the starting cornerback across from Joey Porter Jr. that hasn't stopped many from questioning whether they actually have a sufficient option across from Porter. Among the beat writers, Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette appears to be the most skeptical of Jackson. A former second-round pick like Porter, Jackson is entering his 7th season, now 28 years old. He has been a full-time starter for the entirety of his career, with certain strengths and weaknesses. He has great speed and quickness, even after a significant injury in 2022. However, he also lacks discipline at times, which results in him allowing some big plays. But what does this question really mean? Even that is debatable. The Steelers obviously envision Joey Porter Jr. as a foundational player who will be here for another decade or so. That's not the case for Jackson, who is likely on the back end of his career already. He is also only under contract through 2024, so this may prove a one-year rental. But he is good enough to start for this season, so does that satisfy the criteria for the question? I'm not going to answer that for you. I want you to provide your own answer as to what it means to have a worthy pair to Porter in this context. Does that require some type of long-term security beyond a one-year band-aid for decent but flawed play? One can argue that Jackson struggled somewhat last season because of returning from injury, leading to him compensating and not trusting his body as much as he did in the past. From that perspective, one may reasonably assume he can offer superior play in 2024 for the Steelers. Arguably, he may also better fit what the Steelers want to do with him and Porter. And yet there are some who don't even want to see Jackson next to Porter this season, hoping another candidate emerges. I mentioned earlier the unlikely possibility of moving Jackson to the slot. Such a possibility hinges on a young cornerback like Darius Rush or Corey Trice Jr. stepping up in a big way that we can't reasonably foresee. It would also require that Jackson can successfully transition into the slot. A lot of Steelers fans want the team to let the unit play out and see what they have in these young guys. But we still ultimately have to ask as we sit here in May, do they have a guy who can run with Porter? Patrick Queen has surprising admission about signing with Steelers. One of the better defensive additions this NFL offseason was linebacker Patrick Queen joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. The All-Pro defender left the Baltimore Ravens for the arch-rival Steelers on a 3-year deal. Recently, Queen spoke with Kevin Oestreicher to chat about his free agency experience and what made him want to join the Steelers. I either have a chance to go win or have a chance to get paid. I'm trying to win now, Queen stated. He also mentioned that teams were offering him around $17 million, but he chose to take less to win. At minimum, the Steelers have one of the best defenses in football. Mike Tomlin's defense has studs at every level. Edge rusher T.J. Watt is not just one of the best defensive players in the game, but he is one of the best overall players in all of football. Their other edge rusher, Alex Highsmith, recorded 14.5 sacks and led the league in forced fumbles 2 seasons ago. Cam Hayward is one of the best interior linemen in both the league and franchise history. Queen will be the All-Pro middle linebacker. Minkah Fitzpatrick is one of the best secondary defenders in the game too. With the other additions that the team made on offense, Pittsburgh appears to be playoff contenders at minimum. Russell Wilson, Cordarrelle Patterson, Van Jefferson, and rookie receiver Roman Wilson will help the likes of George Pickens, Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, and Pat Freiermuth make magic happen on offense. This is a complete team with a winning coach at the helm in Tomlin. Again, this is a playoff team at minimum entering 2024. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Patrick Queen? Leave your opinion in the comments.